let them see. I remember one time with Joe Kingman, he was helping me redo my upstairs. And I remember me and Amy got into a fight, and Joe was with me as we started the fight, and then we continued and finished the fight in the car. And I remember seeing Joe's face, like he was really like worried, because I always tease Joe, I'm like, Joe, conflict, and I don't think this is much for him anymore. He's taking a lot of classes at YWAM, we've talked about it, but conflict and communication just isn't a top ability on Joe's part. And for a lot of different reasons, family, other things like that, never maybe seen some of that stuff modeled in his life. And so the whole conflict starting just really kind of tweaked him out. And then the consideration, but we finished the conflict. And I remember Joe was really quiet, and usually he's not really quiet with me. And I said, Joe, what's wrong? You know, did that bother you? And we started to talk openly about, you know, conflict and the right ways to have conflict and to resolve conflict and what's the godly principles in conflict and so on and so forth. And you might say, well, man, is that really a godly thing to have a fight in front of him? Conflict is not bad. It's how we resolve conflict. Do we resolve conflict in godly ways? And sometimes they're going to see you have conflict with people. And are you going to say, I'm going to model godly conflict, and then I'm going to let them see me interact with that person out afterwards so that I'm being godly to them? Does that make sense? Not fake, but godly to them. And definitely, that is something that the young people need to see, because all they see is negative things. And they need to see conflict, resolution, you know what I mean? They need to see that kind of stuff. And they only get that experience if you're in that be with factor. It's a big thing. You know, like Eric said, hey, I'm gonna be out in the field some nights, late at night. I'm gonna be out there. Me, you know, I'm assuming you and your dad or somebody is gonna be driving tractors with you. There's gonna be lots of time in that cab. If you start to develop a relationship with another person, and there's another adult out there, you know, farming with you or whatever, you know, hey, I'm gonna be out here. You wanna come and kick it? We're gonna be out here. We're gonna drive. I don't know, whatever you do in a combine. You know, so that's, you know. You know what I'm saying? But you have to initiate things sometimes. Don't assume the young people are going to initiate that with you. Don't assume that they're going to be the ones that are going to come to you and say, hey, you're going to Joliet tomorrow, let me come with you. You have to be the one to initiate that. And then here's the other side of it. Don't have your feelings hurt when they say no. Or when they tell you, yes, I'm going to be here, and then they forget. Because like I've told you guys in the first night we were here, there's nothing worse than when you have a plan set up and you've tweaked your whole schedule for this young person, and then you call them and they're like, oh, I forgot, I'm at my friend's house, maybe some other time. And you're like, you know, and you're so frustrated and you're so angry and you're like, you know, and then this thought comes in, why, I'm such a loser, I'm like so upset because like this junior hire like ditched me. You know? But just realize it comes with the game. Don't give up. You know, don't give in. You know, it's like just continue to plug at it. You know, relationships are difficult. Relationships are hard. For some of these kids, they've never had really good relationships. So you are maybe the first person in their life that's really implemented it. And maybe you have trouble with relationships. You know, for some of you, it's going to be a learning curve too. And we need to be open with one another. You have questions, talk to us. We're here. There's no stupid questions. We are your resource. We want to help you. We've got books and different things on that topic. So, yeah.
I have a question about the vulnerability issue that you mentioned. What if you are vulnerable and you share just things about your life that week and they use it against you? More than once.
That's where you beat them up.
Like, multiple times.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, that's kind of where he was saying, where you have discernment, like with saying, like with someone, like you get to know them, you know that they're in a sense mature enough to know that they can handle what you're saying, you know? To me, that's how it is. So it's like, I know that I could speak this to someone and them not, they know that my lifestyle has changed. They know, you know, the relationship that I have with God, and so they're not going to look at it that way, but.
I think
that they have to earn our respect too. I mean, it has to be a two-way street to where they earn trust and we earn their trust. You know, so I don't, you know, you kind of throw stuff out there and see how they handle the little things and then make a determination whether they can handle something that.
Yeah, I mean, that all that's good, and I think that too is like in sharing what you shared, whatever it was that you shared, and they bring it back in your face. I mean, I don't know, whatever it would know, you can remind them, for instance, if they're like, well, man, one time in your life you did this, and I will say, you know what, that was one time in my life. I shared it with you because I was being open for the damage it caused in my life.
Right.
I love you. I was telling you that because I care about you. But if you're going to use that now to justify your actions, I'm not going to give you that satisfaction to justify your actions. You know, I love you. I care about you. This is the situation, and I'm gonna pray for you. You know, I mean, I'm saying if I was vulnerable and sharing a bad mistake in my life, for instance, I'm using that as a for instance.
Teasing.
You know, yeah, and with teasing and stuff, they're kids, they're junior hires. You have to then that goes into my file box, and I have had that happen before. Them tease me. You have to be able to be like the Teflon person, and if you show that it bothers you, then they're just gonna keep on teasing you with it. If you're just like, yeah, man, it happened. You know, I'm a fool for Christ. I said that to you because I was trying to be vulnerable to you. If you use that against me, okay, it is what it is. You know, I'm okay with that because I was trying to make myself vulnerable to you. And then that goes in your file box and you say, okay, this group is not mature enough to handle that. You know, they're obviously, you gauge their maturity level.
Okay.
So